Welcome to Numbers and Nonsense. My name is Joe Nolan, and today we're going to be having a terrific episode. We're going to be joined by our longtime sponsor, Jenny from Legacy Business Plans, and have a discussion about what it looks like when you're really in the process of figuring out the next step. But before we get to that conversation, I'm joined, as I am every week, by the man that's going to surprise me with the topic. It's Aaron Holtzman. Aaron, how you doing,
Heyo,
buddy?
I'm good, brother. And I'm sure all of our listeners are so excited to find out about what I want to talk to you with.
I'm honestly afraid.
You should be maybe a little bit. It's actually about one of our clients that we're working on together regarding an SBA deal for the build out of a leasehold space in New York City.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, for our listeners right now, I'm working with a client who is in the process of a business expansion. And for those of you that are operating businesses, this is a great way for you to be able to get some financing through the SBA to continue the growth of your business. We're currently working with Joe, which I'd love to do. And he was able to give us a proper term sheet, and we're looking forward to going to underwriting. And this is also, for those of you listening, very important for you to take away that having a good professional team in your corner helps so much, because as my client's CPA and advocate, I also was able to get connected with a different lender, not just Joe. And in doing so, they were, during an initial conversation, able to say some things that sounded too good to be true in some cases. And this was a much larger bank, and without using names or anything further, long story short, unfortunately, while the interest rates sounded very attractive for my client, Joe, it's not an option for them. So good for you in the sense of we get to take care of my client, and good for us because we're able to still get financing secured for my client where a traditional bank would pass on it. Again, when you're working in this world of small businesses, the first and most important piece is to get the deal done and to work with a lender that knows what's going on and can bring you across the finish line. And while bigger banks can be more competitive in some cases on interest rates, working with a bank such as Joe or other SBA lenders out there that are not at these much larger institutional banks are ways for business owners to be able to actually get financing with the SBA, because they don't always fit into a box.
Well, you could just work at, say, any bank in America. It doesn't mean that you're going to be able to come out and win every deal. Something I remember from my days brokering deals is that the SBA creates a big world, a circle of deals that are eligible for SBA. And then every single lender picks and chooses inside of that world what deals they're going to do and what deals they aren't going to do based off of the credit profile. So, it's a great lesson to learn. Like, just because you got told no by maybe a prime A lender doesn't mean it's not a deal that can get done. It means that there's likely someone that can do the deal. But one of the big things in the SBA space is it's super fractured. I mean, it's a $55 billion a year industry, and the biggest players are doing about $1 billion a year, and it trails off pretty quick down to, if you're doing $175 million a year in SBA volume, then you're a top 15 lender. And in that kind of marketplace, it's great for the borrowers because they have a lot of people competing for their business, but you also need someone to help you navigate it. And sometimes that person can be, a lender. Sometimes it can be your CPA who texts you all the time as the lender asking what the heck's going on and when are you going to get me this feedback. So, it's great, being able to work together and be informed about really all the options turns out to be the best outcome, right? It doesn't matter if a deal gets done with me. The most important thing is a deal gets done. And that's a way that you just put good energy into the world. And sometimes it comes back to you in unexpected ways.
Absolutely. And just one other key takeaway too, specifically to this lender's credit, actually, they were quick to say no. They were quick to say, listen, we would like to look at this. We did, and we're going to have to give a pass. And for anyone looking to expand their business through lending or to buy a business, a quick no is much cheaper and much easier and less painful than a long no. If it's going to be a no, get it out of the way up front.
Perfect. Well, and I really think that that's a perfect segue to bring on our guest for the day. Um, Aaron, this is really exciting. Our guest was our first sponsor, our only
Yep.
sponsor so far. But Jenny, thank you so much for joining us. I know you believed in this podcast for a while now, so we really appreciate a chance to give everyone a face to the name behind Legacy Business Plans.
Of course. And thank you, Joe and Aaron, for having me here in your podcast on Numbers and Nonsense. And I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, you just heard a little bit of the story that Aaron was telling before we brought you
Yes.
on.
Mhm.
I have to imagine that that sounds somewhat familiar in your line of work, working with
Yes,
people both to develop business plans, but also work with lenders to figure out what is reasonable and what could indicative terms look like. Um,
exactly.
how do you try to help borrowers or potential clients as they're trying to figure out, what can I actually do here?
Right. When clients approach to me to get a business plan, oftentimes, they don't have a lender in place, and sometimes they do have a lender. So when they don't have a lender, I had to really start from scratch and really have my first consultation. We usually go from 30 minutes to 1 hour, sometimes talking to the client, learning about the business model, how they make money, if it is an existing business, right? Usually, most often times, these businesses are looking for SBA financing to expand their businesses or opening a second location or third location if it's a restaurant. So they are looking for guidance through since the start. So a business plan, when approach to me asking for a business plan, I really had to go through those steps first, and then see how the numbers and the projections can be built according to their business model, which is like the most important part, I believe, of the business plan. Besides telling the story of the business, we have to also put it in numbers so the lenders can understand what's going on now and what is going to happen in the next 2 to 5 years after the business get funded. So it's really like a lot of questions and answers I had to go through, filling out a questionnaire and everything. So I have all the information for me and for my team to create a full and comprehensive business plan.
That's great. And Jenny, just so myself and everyone else listening kind of understand your place in the ecosystem and when you kind of when people should step up and ask you for assistance, it's really your sweet spot, you would say, is for people that are operators already in their own small businesses and have a vision for this type of expansion, and they just need some help in executing it. So, someone saying, hey, listen, I want to take my business to the next level by opening that second location. I just need to help someone package it so I'm presentable to a bank. Is that correct?
Correct, exactly. And the business plan, and projections, it's a very crucial part of that package. If it is an expansion or if it is a startup, so you really need to show what's changing, what do you bring to the table, how your business is going to generate enough money to pay the loan back and also to sustain the business at the same time, and then also how much money you're also going to have as a cushion. So it's a lot of things that you have to put together on the business plan and the projections to show the lender that is feasible, that it's a fundable deal for the lender.
And we've actually had a chance to go through that process together. In full
Yes.
transparency, Jenny, you did send me a deal for a restaurant that was looking to expand, open up a second location, and we were able to fund that. And working with you to really crystallize the business plan, the competitive market was huge, but it
Yeah.
also helped us shape what was going to be needed to get the deal done, really focus our borrower in on the tangible cost of plumbing, electrical, leasehold improvements, equipment, which, allows us to have a smoother process of getting from, initial screening to closing. I'm not sure if you maybe want to talk about that deal a little bit, how you were able to help that borrower find the right lender after helping them put together their projections and figure out what this structure was going to look like.
Sure. So it was really an interesting deal because I not only built a business plan, but also had to create a presentation because the first thing that he had to do is secure the location. So sometimes these landlords ask for a short presentation, a pitch deck, some slides, just to show the the landlord how what type of business is going to be in that location. So that was the very first step for me to create that presentation, secure the location, and then we went with the business plan. And he came with a rough draft that he had before, and that happens a lot when clients come to me with something already drafted, but the story is not there. There's a lot of pieces that are missing for the lender, so I have to really put everything together and in a presentable way for the lender. So he approached to me, we did the pitch deck presentation, and then we created a business plan. We put all the projections together. We put all the breakdown of the cost and construction, and I helped him put the package together as well. Because, sometimes clients get overwhelmed with all these big checklists from lenders, a lot of questions from lenders as well. So they see me as an SBA expert as well, that I can help them put everything together, fill out forms, PFS, the forms 1919. So everything that goes in the package. So by the time that the deal goes to the lender, it's pretty much 90% ready to go to underwriting. So probably you're missing a few pieces that are documents that underwriters ask, but in terms of you as a lender looking at the deal, you're going to be able to say yes or no. It's like it will be like, yes, I can work with this deal, or no, sorry, we don't work with this type of deal. So the clients that approach to me are ready to go. They have all the whole package ready. So with Domenicos, with Doms was really a rewarding experience from beginning to end, because I was able to help him secure the location, secure a pre-approval first, and then we went through the whole entire underwriting process until closing. And thanks to Joe that we could close.
Always great that there's a happy ending when you're working with Joe.
Yeah.
Jetty, speaking of other deals, can you tell us a little bit about what some red flags are when you're going to potentially work with a client? Just so when our listeners that are out there kind of understand, this is what I need to make sure I'm checking the boxes on before I'm even ready to take that next step into buying a business or expanding my business.
Right. So when it is a business acquisition, for example, I do a lot of business plans for business acquisitions. So to build the projections, I really need to see historical financials, because I need to see the past, what happened before in the last at least 2 years. So I build the projections based on that. So when I build the projections, I see that, and also had to see then when to put the package together for the lender, I had to see tax returns as well. So sometimes I see these connections between financials and tax returns, and for me that's a huge red flag, and it happens a lot. And sometimes I don't really feel comfortable working with clients that try to hide things and try to put things together in a way that it's deceiving. And so that's a huge red flag for me. If your tax returns don't match your financials and you're trying to put numbers from your financials for you to convince someone, and then your tax returns don't match, then that's a huge red flag.
That's a really good point. I actually have conversations like that with prospective clients just at my CPA firm, because when I talk with my clients, I say, listen, there's a double-edged sword here. There's, yes, we want to operate as efficiently as possible from a tax perspective, but we also want to be bankable. And we also don't want the IRS to be wondering how you're able to sustain a lifestyle on whatever salary you're saying you're taking home. And I think a lot of people kind of need to change their mindset, especially as a business owner, and not have that scarcity mindset and think of, okay, what can I do to show as little income as possible because tax is the devil, and more so have that abundance mindset and go out and earn and make that profit, and then work with a qualified tax professional or financial advisor or a hybrid of the two, and be strategic with your taxes, but keep what you're making. And again,
Mhm.
being able to be bankable so you can go make more money and have a better lifestyle, as opposed to being,
Exactly.
almost fraudulent. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, it's a very tricky way to do it, and I don't really like those type of clients, and those are the clients that sometimes I have to turn down. I really don't. I prefer to stay away from that.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I have a lot of clients that'll come in super excited because they found a great deal on Biz Buy Sell. It's like, look at this. They made 1.6 million on 3 million of revenue last year, and now they only want 4 million for it. And it looks great when you have the recast financials, but once you look at the tax returns,
Yeah.
that's our source of truth. There's a big problem of people trying to have their cake and eat it too, where you avoid creatively showing your income while you're operating your business, but then you still want to get paid full value for that income you earn when you're trying to sell. So, one of the funniest things I'll see sometimes is, I'm not sure if you've seen this, Jenny, but like laundromats are notorious for this, especially when they were more cash based. I would see them where they've been losing money for 10 years straight. And then 2 years ago, when they decided they were going to get ready to sell, all of a sudden they're showing 20% margins. And that is a true way you can have your cake and eat it too, where, you're avoiding taxes for the most part, and then you're getting full value because you seasoned the business. But I don't know, it's hard to want to work with people like that. Even if you're gaming the system, it's like, well, I know you're not really working with me as a partner on this. You're using me to get to your next objective. And if I'm no longer going to be a part of your future, you'll do whatever you need to step past me too.
Right. Exactly. Yes. And I deal with a lot of startups as well, and seeing all these mistakes and things going on with already existing businesses, I try to guide them and tell them since the beginning, get your financials in order, pay a bookkeeper since the
Yes.
start, get a bookkeeper, because that saves you hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars by the time you decide to grow your business. And by the time you decide to get an SBA loan or any type of business funding, they're going to ask you for your financial statements. So I have a lot of cases that clients come to me and they have all the financials mixed up, personal with business. They don't know what expenses they have. They don't really have they don't really know what the cost of business is. They don't really know how much money they made. So it is really hard to put everything together. So I always tell all my clients that are new to the business, get a bookkeeper, or if you want to do it yourself, just do it yourself. Use QuickBooks, use whatever you want, but just do it. Get your financials in order, file your taxes in time, pay everything. Don't be late on payments. Take care of your personal credit, because that's also something that they need to really have straight by the time they apply for an SBA loan. So no late payments. Be patient as well. Don't go crazy spending and unnecessary costs for the business. Everybody, and I include myself as well as a business owner, you have that, that you're eager to grow fast and you want to put the money, you reinvest the money on the business, and you're not paying yourself. So I always give this advice to all my clients that are startups, and that also goes on the business plan. It's just like, control your expenses for the business, spend what's necessary, stay away from high cost, be patient. You are going to grow, but gradually. You're not going to get rich from one day to another. So do it gradually, pay yourself, and everything is going to flow. Everything is going to happen step by step. And that's the reason why you really need a business plan, because you have to put that together in a document that sometimes is even like 20, 30, 40 pages long. depending on the business model. Their business models are more complicated and to build. So, and business owners, to be honest, they don't have the time to write a business plan, to do research, to put everything together. There's no time. So, and that's why we are here to make your job easy. Just you take care of your business, we take care of putting that business plan together. So by the time you are going to apply for a loan, or even for yourself as a business owner, you have that roadmap ready for you and more clarity to see how your business will grow, how you're going to generate money. So it's, for me, it's really rewarding helping other business owners as well.
Absolutely. And you kind of touched on it a little bit about making sure, hey, your financials are properly put together. Again, as a CPA, that's like my ish right there. And
Exactly.
I always talk with business owners, like, don't be penny wise, dollar foolish. Focus on keeping your money. Don't throw good money after bad, chasing a tax deduction. For anyone listening, this also goes for people that aren't business owners or thinking of doing something that could be a potential tax deduction.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a dollar for dollar reduction in taxes. Think of it as a discount. If you're going to get a business expense and your tax rate's maybe 30%, you're getting whatever you're buying for 30% off. And one of my favorite anecdotes is I work with a number of construction, builders, and they'll be like, "Oh, I think it's time for me to get a new truck." And I'll ask them, "Do you need a new truck?" They say, "No, but I have some money." I say, "Would you rather than drop a 50 grand on a truck, would you rather just keep 35,000 and do whatever you want with it? Go invest in real estate, go put it in a stock portfolio, take your kids to Disney." That's kind of my mentality. It's not about showing zero income. It's about being bankable, keeping your money and doing what you want with it.
Exactly. Yes, absolutely. It's like all lenders say, cash flow is king.
Yep, absolutely.
It makes us feel a lot better, at least. It's hard, because one of the struggles I have in the industry that we are in, Jenny, is I often fall in love with deals, right? You spend so much time with borrowers, you really start to see the vision and you understand what they're trying to do. How do you try to balance that between, both like how you treat people with sort of that excitement versus the people that maybe are just asking questions? And how do you try to, I guess, stay impartial as you're trying to guide people through these really important conversations?
It's hard actually, because like you said, you actually fall in love with deals. Like I fall in love with business owners when they show me their business and they want to put it on paper, on a business plan. So yeah, it's hard to sometimes, after you're seeing everything, the story, and then you see and you notice that the business needs a little work. The business is not really fundable at this time. So I have many cases like that, and what I do is let's just guide them through the process. It is not. It doesn't mean that if it's not fundable now, doesn't mean it's not going to be fundable probably in 6 months or a year. So there are solutions, right? It's not like the end of the world. So I guide them through the process. For example, if the credit is a little bit low for SBA, I try them to tell them, hey, go and repair your credit. Try to pay everything on time. If you have something, any derogatory remarks, try to fix that, remove everything that you have, if it's, if it's possible, right? And then if it is like financials that they need really to be clean up, also that as well, hire a bookkeeper, put your financials in order. If they don't file taxes because they are on extension, I will tell them, hey, just try to file them right away so you're ready for an SBA loan right now. So there's a few things and a few steps that some business owners need to go through before being ready for an SBA loan. So as a consultant, I also guide them through that process as well. Because I not only write a business plan, I also advise them on startup consulting and SBA loan readiness and how to be ready. So it is not like I sell the business plan regardless if you approve, if you qualify for an SBA loan or not. It's just a variety of services that I offer.
Amazing. And when you're working with someone and looking to place it with an SBA loan, what are some of the things you're seeing this year that lenders care about in general? Like, are there any big buttons that you keep hearing about? Is there anything that's sort of changed that surprised you over the last year or so?
I mostly work with startups, and now I started to see more business acquisition clients. So a lot of lenders are not really, they don't really work with startups. So it's very challenging for me sometimes to get a lender for a new business. So in those cases, they really need that strong business plan and financial projections, but it also has to be backed up with personal credit history and also some other income on the side. Like if they're on W-2, so they're already working or they have another business running, it's extremely helpful. Also, if the equity injection it's high, it would also help. But if a business owner starting up, it's coming to me for an SBA loan, and there's not really nothing. There's not really no collateral or no credit history, or there's no income on the side. It's very challenging. The chances are 0 to none to have an SBA loan, unfortunately. So I have those challenges with startups. There's not always chances to place them with a lender. So yeah, I see that a lot.
To piggyback, oh, sorry, Joe, mind if I interject?
Please.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of that, Jenny, a little bit specifically with startups, I'm assuming that really the lenders are going to know what the use of funds are going to be. What they want to make sure it's almost like Shark Tank, if you will, for anyone that watches that show, where the people that are going to be providing the money don't want to hear that it's going to just cover salary. They want to go, what are you going to take my money and do with it? And so I would say a lot of professional services that are out there, such as myself, if I wasn't doing a business purchase and I was just going to hang my shingle out there when I first started my firm, I wouldn't have really been eligible for an SBA loan, or maybe for a very small one, because when you think of the startup cost for a professional service provider, CPA, what, $5,000-$10,000 at the most for like a tech stack, a laptop, a desk. So for the startups that are actually eligible for lending, or that you work mostly with, Jenny, what would you say the industries or the trends normally is? Would it be usually buying things for a build out of a retail space, for inventory? Could you just elaborate a little bit for anyone, again, listening that could be in startup mode and they're wondering, do I need debt? That's the first question too, right?
And it's different the type of startups. Like if you say like a service business, like an accountant office, or what I do, business consulting, you don't need that much money to start up. It's you don't need inventories, you don't need like expensive equipment. So yeah, those are startups that are easy, but at the same time are really hard to get an SBA loan when you just start. So it's you can be going to the bank and say, hey, I just started my service business and business consulting, and I need $150,000 so I can hire people and pay marketing. So the bank is going to ask you, so what's your what was your, there's no revenue, actually. There's no historical financials. So there's nothing there. And that doesn't mean the business is not going to perform. It's not going to make money. It's just like, it's a risky move for the lender. The lenders are not going to really give you money and take the risk. On the other hand, and then there's other startups and the franchise startups. So see the franchises, there's already a history of that franchise being successful. So when a business owner it's buying a new franchise for opening a new location, it's less challenging because there's already history on the franchise. So the business owner obviously needs to come up with equity injection and experience as well, which is also very important. And then they can easily buy a franchise. I have one of my clients bought these very famous pickleball franchises, Deal Dinkers. So that was his first business. He was buying the franchise. He's doing construction. So he's buying all the equipment and building the courts and everything. So, and he's getting funded. He's closing at the end of this month or beginning of
Amazing.
Great.
November. Yeah. So that was a startup, but the thing that made it easy for the lender, it was that it was a franchise. So it is not really like a startup from zero.
And that makes sense because in the SBA world, because it's public information,
Right.
even though it's a very dispersed ecosystem, we can see at a portfolio level what is the riskiest tranche of deals. And when people
Yeah.
look at the SBA data, it's non-franchise startups have the highest default rate.
Yeah.
It's consistently over 10%. So when we're looking at it from a lender point of view, no matter what, we're sort of rate locked. There's a very strict upper limit, and there's a pretty strict lower limit as well for these SBA deals. So as an SBA lender, you can only make whatever that interest rate is. Even if you 10, 20x your initial investment, I have no upside beyond that interest. But if you turn around and it turns out, your grandma's squash recipe wasn't actually as good as you thought it was, well, then the lender's out every penny that they put out to that business. So when we're looking at deals, I know internally, we're looking to either have that franchise and a mature franchise as well.
Yes.
Ideally, something with 50 plus nationwide units and 5 years of history, because anything lower than that is what we would call an emerging concept.
Exactly.
Doesn't quite have that track record. So when you're looking to do a true startup without a franchise, like you said, Jenny, it unfortunately can be tough, but you can
Yeah.
mitigate it by having additional equity in and collateral that you can pledge so that there is a little bit more skin in the game. And if you hear that in the background, my dog is dying
Adorable.
over how unfair it is that startups don't have more access to capital.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. It's very challenging to fund a startup, a non-franchise startup.
Yeah.
And that's how we, sorry, go ahead, Aaron.
Oh, no, Jenny, please continue your thought.
And no, I was saying that, and it even with it, like whether it's for a non-franchise startup or a franchise startup, business plans are, the business plan has to really tell that story, and those franchise business plans will also include the franchise history and everything else, and the projections are going to be also based on the history of the franchise. Usually, on the franchise disclosure document, it's a section where it shows pretty much like a summary of the financials. So that's where we base the financial projections from.
And just what I was going to elaborate a little bit further too is underwriting. To me, and no offense, Joe, there is a special place in hell for bankers. I mean, I'll see you there, so it's fine. But the reality too is if a bank or a lender is taking a pass on your business projection or your model, that's an opportunity for you to really go back and be honest with yourself and be honest with your numbers. Because again, you got to know yourself. And if someone is telling you no, firstly, that doesn't mean give up. That means maybe rejigger what you're putting together and try to figure out, is there a different path to get to where I want to go? Or maybe I still need to incubate a little bit further. But I just want to say there's a pro and a con to being bankable and working with a lender. If you're getting told no consistently from not just big lenders, big bank lenders, but even smaller credit unions or other SBA lenders such as Joe, that's an opportunity to really say, okay, maybe this deal would be dangerous to myself as well. Because one of the key pieces of business financing and debt is the expectation and the requirement for personal guarantees almost always, which means if you're taking a bet on yourself, which is not a bad thing to do, but if you're taking a bet on yourself and it doesn't pan out and you have to fold up your business, you're still on the hook for that debt you borrowed. And you may have to go into personal bankruptcy on top of that.
Right.
So if lenders are really saying no, that really is an opportunity to be honest with yourself.
Absolutely, yes.
I actually had a chance to do something like that pretty recently, Aaron. I was talking with a gentleman that I met through SBA Lender Match. He'd been working at a dealership for a long time, and he had an opportunity to buy a dealership. And it was one that had a history of being successful, but in digging into the numbers and figuring out what was going on here, found out that they had recently lost access to their floor financing line, and they had lost their ability to turn over inventory. And it looked like the company really didn't have more than 6 months left until they were going to be going under. And this guy was looking to pay, what would have been a discount 3 years ago, but now is probably 5 to 6x more than the company's worth. And I told him, even if you were to be able to get this to a fair market value, I would probably tell you not to do it, because all you're going to end up doing is bail out the people that failed. And if you don't, you're not going to get another chance at this, because you're going to have a ton of baggage from this failed deal. So, using thus evil lenders as a third party sniff check is super important, because we are purely by the numbers. That's where I can get in trouble sometimes, is fall in love with the deal and you can sort of look past some of the numbers. But if you can be able to provide that critical feedback at the right point, you can either have someone course correct to save themselves a ton of headache, or challenge them in a way that makes their final product better. But I also think that there's a fine line, because we are so jaded, and also still having to be your own best advocate. So I feel bad for borrowers having to both advocate for what they believe in while taking critical feedback to synthesize what do you listen to and what don't you listen to.
In terms of building projections, that's really a thin line as well. I find myself sometimes talking to clients that they really have that idea of, like, they inflate numbers and they don't look real. They don't seem real. So I always try to build these projections as realistic as possible. And also behind those projections, there has to be assumptions to it. So if you're showing X, Y, and Z here on the financial projections, you have to explain how you're getting from X, Y, and Z to A, B, C, right? So you have to show the numbers, but you also have to show the rationale. Why is this going to happen? You're projecting to have, for example, 10% yearly growth rate from year 1 to year 2, but why? What's the explanation? Are you is it because you're going to implement a new strategy, new marketing and sales strategies? Are you hiring let's say an operations manager or salesperson that is going to grow the revenue and bring sales? What's the strategy? What's going to happen? And that's going to tell the lender and gives the explanation on why that growth is going to happen.
And it's funny too, when small business owners think about growth, and whenever I think about my own firm's growth and how I try to put it in perspective, when you were employed at your job, if you got a 5% raise in the year without a true promotion, you weren't upset by that. You're going, okay, that covers cost of living, that allows me to pay the increase in rent, mortgage, groceries, etc. Why would you put pressure as a business owner in saying, I need to have 20, 30% growth next year without, as you just mentioned, Jenny, implementing something different? And I think to that extent, having that perspective and that concept of stability and a stable growth and not exponential growth is not necessarily a good thing, because that can lead to pulling resources and running your team ragged, as opposed to, my personal philosophy is I want to make a little bit more money next year, and I want to work a little bit less next year. And if I do that for the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, I'm going to have lived a really good life, and I will have built a business where I'm making good money and I'm working less than I would have at a traditional job, without feeling like I put myself through some process that would feel very stressful. And to that point too, Jenny, one of the things I like to kind of talk about when I speak with people on our show and in general is kind of the the not fun side of our business. I feel like a lot of TikToks are out there of, oh, this is what I have 5 businesses, all passive and I don't work and blah, blah, blah. And no one really talks about the down and dirty side of making businesses work and when things go wrong. And when things go wrong is when everyone learns the most from that. At least if you're wise to recognize a loss as an opportunity to grow. Jenny, do you have a potential anecdote from one of your clients where maybe they didn't get to funding or something came up that made the deal go awry? And did anything happen beyond that? Were they able to then get funding at a later date? Or what did they learn from not getting what they wanted?
I have a few stories of clients that we get to the pre-approval phase, because once you get a deal pre-approved, that doesn't mean it's already getting funded. There's a lot of other steps after, and underwriting does their own due diligence. They go deeper. So I had a deal that it was really like the perfect deal from the outside. Everything was making millions. Everything was in order. The use of proceeds were very clear. We had a strong business plan and projections, but we are coming back to the conversation of financials and tax returns being not matching. So that killed the deal. That kills the deal right away. And if an underwriter sees something that it's a huge red flag, they're not going to continue. Yeah.
No, I think you touched on something too, the human element. What I would say is trustworthiness, because this goes for a lender or for if you're a prospective buyer and you're speaking with a seller and it comes to light that maybe they misrepresented some facts, either purposefully or hopefully neglectfully. But either way, are you going to trust that person in any other answers they give you if you find out that, hey, they misrepresented something, either knowingly or unknowingly?
Exactly. Yeah, and that's that type of deal. That same client, he actually came back really like 3-4 months later with a completely new business, and for me it was like, nope.
Yeah. Well,
I
I'm
had
happy
to
you
really
learned that
turn him
lesson.
down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yes, those are one of the red flags that you see as me as a consultant and having to deal with looking at documentation before placing someone with a lender.
Absolutely. And again, as your professional service provider, such as myself and Joe, and again, for anyone listening for professional services or just in general, you don't have to work for everybody. One of the best parts about having your own business, or in Joe's case, being having that wall and being a shot caller, I would say, is your ability to go, I don't want to work for you. You might have the money. You might be able to afford my rates. I don't like you. Goodbye. We're not going to be a good fit.
Yes, exactly.
Avoiding a deal that's driven too much by ego by any party is the biggest time saver you can possibly have. I always like to joke that a lawyer makes or breaks a deal. Like a good lawyer gets you to the finish line. A bad lawyer makes sure you know why that they're the smartest person in the room, and they're going to give you questions and red lines over and over again to justify their rate. And it really just depends. It's a hard business out there. The world, you sort of have to both take feedback and you have to be able to modify your path. And it is beautiful when you figure out those people that you can and can't work with and specialize in that. Because, it's the 80-20 rule, right? 80% of your headaches are going to come from 20% of your clients. And the sooner you can cut them out, the more time you'll have to focus on your actual revenue producing clients.
Absolutely. I learned the hard way too. I learned to say no. When you start a business, you take everything, right? Because you want to grow your business, you want to work with everybody, but then you learn you learn the hard way, and now you are avoiding headaches. Like if I don't want to work with a client from X, Y, and Z, I just professionally just turn them down. It's like, no, I'm sorry, but I can't work with you.
Absolutely. Again, learning to turn away business is, I would say, one of the most important skills to learn as a business owner. And
Exactly.
Jenny, we're coming up. We just passed the 45-minute mark. So we try to keep our episodes nice and crisp at 45, but I feel like we could talk to you for another 45 minutes. But all that being said, we like to use the last part of our podcast as our ask our client, or not clients, our guests, what your ask is for this episode. So if you could let our audience know what your ask is, what you're looking for professionally, who good clients or referral sources would be for yourself. So anyone listening, if you liked the conversation with Jenny and you're going, she'd be great for someone in my network to know, who would those type of people be?
Sure. So for every business owners, that even whether you're a startup or you have your business operating, and you're looking to apply for an SBA loan, or even if you're just like looking to have a roadmap for yourself, contact me so I can build your business plan, financial projections that are lender ready. My email address is contact@legacybusinessplans.com. My website is legacybusinessplans.com, and phone number is 786-991-2695. I also work with a lot of lenders. I have selected lenders that they send me referrals. And I also work with immigration attorneys. I do also immigration business plans. So I have that dual expertise. So I also offer immigration business plans a lot. So I work with a lot of immigration attorneys as well. That's on the legal side of the business.
That's great to know. And that's a phenomenal niche. I'm very happy you mentioned that, Jenny. Thank you for sharing.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Joe, you want to take us home, brother? You're muted. Just an FYI. Calling you out.
Well, Jenny, thank you so much. Once again, for anyone looking to connect, legacybusinessplans.com. It's a terrific resource, and I can speak from personal experience that Jenny can help you get funded. With that, I think that might take us to the end of another episode of Numbers and Nonsense. Aaron, Jenny, thank you so much. And as always, look forward to seeing you all next time. And there's only one thing left to do.
Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you both.